Right. Let's do the math.
Welcome to the 6th episode of the Sudden But Inevitable podcast. This week we're talking science fiction. Specifically, science fiction that isn't Star Wars. We're remaking a couple science fiction films as TV shows. Chris tackles the shape-shifting body horror of John Carpenter's The Thing, and I take a look at human-alien relationships with District 9. But first, the news. And it's some pretty big news this week. Avatar 2, and 3, and 4... and 5 all have release dates.
All of them?
All of them.
Wow.
They're all releasing around December 18. The first one, technically the second one, is coming out in 2020, which is more than 10 years after the original film.
Yeah.
The third one comes out the year after that, and then they're taking a break, and then the next two films come out the next 2 consecutive years. All the actors are coming back, including the villain. So the villain, who you may remember in the first one, died.
Was that Sigourney?
No, she was one of the main... Stephen Lang.
Okay.
The military dude who rode around in a big robot suit. He is coming back. And James Cameron has said, to quote the man himself, "The interesting conceit, which I think may have been mistyped and is supposed to be concept, of the Avatar sequels is it's pretty much the same characters. There are new characters and a lot of new settings and creatures. So I'm taking characters you know and putting them in unfamiliar places and moving them on this greater journey. But it's not a whole bunch of new characters every time. There's not a new villain every time, which is interesting."
New settings and creatures?
Well, I guess they have a whole planet to work with.
Yeah, I guess, but I think the blue people are what people remember about Avatar.
Well, I assume when he says creatures, there was all those different aliens.
Oh yeah, the birds that connected, the tail, weird sex thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even in the first film, they go to the different Avatar villages and hang out there for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the fact, because it was set to originally release in 2014. So not only is it releasing more than a decade after the first one, it's 6 years after it was planned to come out. And there's 5 of them.
Yeah, now, I think we've talked about this before, and you've told me that they were making all 5 of the sequels at once.
At the same time.
Which I think is a phenomenal concept.
Well, they did it for Lord of the Rings as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess, that way you kind of get, that as the films go on, particularly with the actors and the characters, they actually get to know each other better and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Back
all at
to
the
back.
same time, which is impressive.
Oh, yeah, 5 films, and they're probably 2-3 hours long each.
Well, 4 films. 5 total.
Oh, okay.
Including the first one. But he wants to, the first one, he was all, I'm pushing the technology, and he wants to do that again. And one of the things that he wants to do is 3D without glasses.
Okay. That'll be interesting.
So, I mean, Avatar was, the start of the new 3D. So, who knows? Avatar 5 could be the start of the next new 3D.
Or even Avatar 2 could be.
Could be. I doubt it. I don't think they're going to go glassless 3D in 3 years.
No, but it could be interesting to see what they do. It will be visually stunning for movies.
It will be. I mean, I was thinking before, and I told you this, that I thought it was coming out the same year as the final film in the new Star Wars trilogy. It isn't. It's coming out the year after. Because I was thinking there's going to be like box office battles and
Yeah.
but no, it's coming out the year after. One thing's for sure: December is going to be a killer for the next decade.
Yeah. Does Disney have a plan for Star Wars after number 7, 8, 9?
They've said they, even though we're not supposed to be talking about Star Wars this episode,
I know.
they've said they have plans for films for the next decade, but they haven't said what they are. The new trilogy is supposed to be the last trilogy,
Yeah.
and then they're apparently just doing spin-offs.
Okay, because they've all been December, so Avatar could still have
You could.
a bit of a challenge.
It'll probably go up against a spin-off movie of some description.
That's what I'm thinking.
The popular one at the moment is Obi-Wan, with Ewan McGregor coming back. Who knows?
And I think that's a good way to segue into our other piece of news that I told you literally minutes ago. That is, Disney is pulling all their stuff from Netflix.
They are indeed.
And starting their own streaming service.
Do we know what that's called?
I don't think so, because it's still early days, but they're doing one for ESPN, their sports stuff, and one for all the Disney movies and everything. I believe that there's a lot that they can't take off, because especially with the Marvel movies before Disney purchased them, and Star Wars, the 6 movies that they don't own. So I don't know what they are and aren't, or can and can't take off. But there's some that will be... basically all the Disney movies will be staying on until the end of their license.
Yeah. I don't see this going well.
I don't. And both Netflix stock went down like 7% and Disney stock 5%, or maybe it was 5 and 3. So yeah, they're both suffering as a result of this.
I mean, I feel like everybody's just happy with it all being in one place. It's like, I don't want Netflix and Disney and Amazon and
HBO.
Yeah, all this other stuff.
At the same time, Disney has enough licenses and franchises that I would have to pay for. I would want to pay for it, and they're gonna
see. I would only pay for it if they restricted if they're like, you're only going to get your Marvels and your Star Warses through here.
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about rewatching them again on Disney's own exclusive platform.
But see, here's the other thing. The articles that I read this morning made it sound like they're going to be releasing their new movies basically as soon as the DVDs and that are released on their streaming services.
Yeah, that makes sense. But again, that's...
Which is exciting because...
I mean, for me, because I like to collect the movies, if I like the movie enough, I'm going to buy it anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good that there's now going to be a legal way to obtain them straight up digitally without having to buy the physical. So yeah, I feel like it's one of those things that people are going to use, but only because they have to.
Yeah.
So boo Disney, but woo, we get a focused place for them all.
I guess.
Anyway, that's not much news today, but...
No, it is interesting news. Not a lot, but it's big news, I suppose.
Yeah.
But now let's get to what the main focus is some of our favourite science fiction that isn't Star Wars. Because, we do plan to do in the future at least one episode about Star Wars, solely focused on that.
Probably December.
Yes. Or whenever the next trailer drops, sometime around then. So we decided to just set this episode on all the other science fiction. So what are some of your favourite sci-fi movies?
Well, I think that Source Code is one of the greatest films that was ever created.
Yeah.
I could be pushing it a bit, but I absolutely love it. Edge of Tomorrow, I recently watched and reviewed on the site.
Yeah.
And I thought that just hit all the right points. It was like a summer sci-fi blockbuster that didn't want to be just another summer sci-fi blockbuster.
Yeah.
There's a sequel for that coming out at some point, which is exciting. But of course, I grew up on 80s sci-fi. I don't want to steal all the ones you might want to talk about, Eamon, but I grew up watching Terminator and Men in Black and all of those. Hitchhiker's Guide had a mini-series on the BBC, which I love. On 2001, which was boring as, but...
I wouldn't want to grow up watching 2001.
But yeah, it's worth mentioning because
it is one of those landmark films, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it...
it's not a film I enjoy.
So yeah, I like all the Terminator and, the action sci-fis of the 80s, but also the higher concept, or not high concept, because that basically means the opposite of what you'd think.
Yeah.
But,
the ones that have that neat idea and execute it really well.
Code. What about you?
Well, you mentioned you like Source Code. And by the same director, Duncan Jones, is the film Moon, which is also really good. Also has that neat idea that's executed really well. Definitely recommend that. The new Planet of the Apes trilogy, in my opinion, the greatest cinematic trilogy ever.
Wow.
That just concluded a couple of weeks back with the release of the third one. It's really good. The Martian, also really good. One of those more grounded science fiction movies. And my personal favourite sci-fi movie, District 9. Can't get enough of that movie. But yeah, those are some of our recommendations.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy Neil Blomkamp's films. Shout out to Oates again. But yeah, and Starship Troopers. We both
Starship Troopers. That is a movie and a half. I mean, when we're talking about movies with broad and then there's Starship Troopers. These smart movies which deal with politics and ethics, and then there's Starship Troopers. Which,
the opposite of Minority Report, really.
I mean, it does have that subtext of fascism and militarization, but when you watch that, it's just here's thousands of guys getting slaughtered by giant bugs, and it's glorious.
Yep.
But one of the things that's becoming more popular these days is science fiction TV. They are remaking a lot of old movies, turning them, not necessarily science fiction ones, but they're turning a lot of old movies into TV. The Mist, Point Break, I think, is getting a TV show now.
Wow.
After it got a remade movie.
Is that sci-fi?
No.
Okay.
No, but there's lots of Lethal Weapon. There's loads of these. Taken is getting a TV series.
Yeah, I heard that.
So, kind of sticking with this new trend, we've chosen some sci-fi movies of our own.
John Wick's getting a TV series,
John Wick
as we said last week.
Series, that is.
But yeah.
But yeah, we've chosen some of our favourite science fiction movies to turn into a TV series.
The remakers.
So I will go first with my pitch for... It doesn't have a name. I'm calling it D9 TV, for District 9 TV. And essentially it's a documentary-style series in the vein of Foreign Correspondent or those kinds of things, that explores the presence of the prawns living alongside humanity in South Africa. And I feel like rather than focusing on a singular event or a singular character, it's just kind of the whole thing from when they first left the spaceship and came down to Earth right up until the day before the film happens. So rather than, I was thinking do I ignore the film altogether, rewrite it as a TV series? But I thought, the film is kind of like the final episode of the TV series. So rather than focus on a character, I'm going to focus on elements. So at the start of the film, there is this little documentary part that's talking about food riots and people trying to get the prawns out and criminal gangs and stuff. So I feel like there's so much different stuff that you could do, while at the same time keeping the ideas of the film, which is apartheid and poverty and all that stuff, those parallels, and then kind of as a little wink to the movie, I wanted to put Vicus, who is Sharlto Copley, and the main alien Christopher Johnson in the background of some scenes. So you might be at the there's a scene at the headquarters of the big human base, and there's an invitation to Vicus's wedding or something, Or you see the alien like hanging out with his little baby, and so the average person is not gonna be like not gonna notice, but somebody who knows the movie is like, hey, look at that, that's pretty neat.
Nice.
The showrunner Neil Blomkamp, of course, he'll be tossing in on some episodes as well, and I want the effects to be done by Weta, who are the gods of the industry.
Have you watched a little too much Planet of the Apes recently?
Maybe I've only seen the new one 3 times, goddammit.
And it's not even out of cinemas.
No.
Wow.
Seen it 3 times in cinema. It's pretty good.
But yes, Weta are fantastic. They did that. The people from Weta were before Weta. I think they did Lord of the Rings.
No, that was they did some movies with Peter Jackson beforehand, and then they were formed for Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I knew that they had connections to Lord of the Rings, but I knew it was their early days.
But yeah, they went from that to the Narnia movies, Avatar. Basic, like 90% of the big movies that have come out, Weta has been involved in directly, even if it's just through like concept art or using their software or anything like that.
Yeah. Anyway, back to your TV series. First of all, I just thought that when you said that the movie starts with the documentary style news sequence, do you think that could tie in with your show? That could be like the last bit of the last episode.
Well, I was thinking I would use those segments as episodes. It's like there's a part where they talk about the prawns derailing a train. So you'd have an episode about, them trying to pick up the pieces after these aliens derail the train. Okay. So if you've seen the TV series, when you watch the film, you pick up like, oh, I remember that episode from this point. And
that leads into my next question, which is how is it going to work as a TV?
It's not. So there's no story.
Okay.
It's essentially
anthology.
Not even that. It's more like a foreign correspondent type deal. I guess the best way to describe it is it's like a mockumentary, like a fake documentary. So like you get all those documentaries about the wars, and it's essentially that.
Okay.
But each episode focuses on some aspect of the human prawn relation. So then you've got a documentary about gangs in LA or whatever. So I could have an episode about the Nigerian gangs in District 9.
Okay.
Because I was thinking putting a story into something so expansive is kind of like limiting the potential.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I just didn't picture it, but it's like, I guess you described it better than I can, but it's almost anthology, but not quite. And I think it should be called Prawns. That's a fantastic name for a show.
Yeah.
Like, I can picture the almost empty IMDb page now.
Yeah. And I mean, it's inspired by the original trailer for the film, which is basically sets it up like a documentary. I don't know if you've seen the original trailer. I've got it here.
Nobody comes back late at night anymore. They have more security.
The government noticed that they were moving into new areas. That's when things started to get out of hand.
They don't belong here.
They're spending so much money to keep them here when they could be spending it on other things. At least they're keeping them separate from us.
A lot of bad things started to happen. They must just go. I don't know where they go. They must just go.
We're at the breaking point. People are living in fear.
Why are you here? Why don't you just leave? How do your weapons work?
I
just want everyone watching this right now to learn from what has happened.
Yeah, I guess I can see that working.
So, like the trailer, because I remember seeing that trailer in 2009. I think I went to see the Aragon movie or something with my dad. And we saw it and we're like, what's this? Is this like about refugees or something? And then they dropped that. Nah, it's aliens. I think that's, in my opinion, one of the best trailers. It doesn't hold up to repeat viewings so much, because if you know what it's about, it's like, oh, aliens are coming. But when you first see it, if you don't know it's about aliens, it just comes out of nowhere. So I like that idea of it being like a documentary style, with interviews and...
Yeah, that first half of the trailer looked like a trailer for your show, more than a trailer for the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that.
I like it as well. So what about yours? What are you pitching us?
Okay, so mine is The Thing. And I'm sticking to the original story in some parts.
Yep.
I'm remaking the movie, so the movie doesn't.
I assume the John Carpenter, 1982.
Yes.
Yep.
So neither of the movies exist, or the canon exists. It's just gonna be back to the Arctic base because that seems to work well.
Yep.
And I'm being controversial and saying I don't want John Carpenter.
Okay.
Because he doesn't really have a TV show. He's got one that he made. I don't know much about it. Yeah, I think he was. I think it was more of a
like a
show
producer or something.
About shows.
Masters of Horror?
I don't know. No, it wasn't that. I don't think. Anyway, so yeah, I had so many great ideas. I could have made a Mad Max show.
Yeah.
A Source Code show. Chronicle show even.
Yeah.
Chronicle is a fantastic movie, by the way.
It is.
And I'd love to see them make a show about the characters of the movie Serenity.
Oh, that would be a great movie.
I'm sure it would be a great show.
Maybe set it beforehand so the characters are still alive.
Oh yeah.
That'd be great.
Because I liked that guy who got impaled.
I don't remember its name, but pretty good TV show, I imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know how many seasons it would last for.
I'd want it to last for a long time.
I mean, at least one.
Anyway, if you don't know what we're talking about, Google Serenity. Just figure it out. Anyway, I don't want John Carpenter for The Thing. I don't know how he'd go with TV, and he's in his 70s or 80s.
He's not
now.
a young man anymore.
No. So I'm gonna choose David Fincher for my director.
Yeah.
Now he's done Alien 3, which demonstrates he can do monsters. Even if it's not one of the greatest, it shows that he can do it.
Yeah.
He's done Fight Club, which demonstrates that he can do psychological. He's done The Game, which proves that he can do a show about doubt, because The Game has a little bit of that in it. He's done Gone Girl, psychological thriller.
Gone Girl.
These are all
Wasn't that Ben Affleck?
Yeah. And these are all elements that you really need for a Thing show.
Yeah.
And also, he did the first 2 episodes of House of Cards, as well as basically creating the American one. And that's a show all about... It's
the American one?
Yeah, House of Cards, the Netflix show, was based on House of Cards, the British show that lasted about a season.
I didn't even realise that was a thing.
No, nor did I until I actually looked into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's some of the best television that exists.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he was able to pull that off is a good thing. But also it's a show a lot about intrigue.
Yeah.
About, I don't know how to describe it, but...
Yeah, like tension and intentions. You don't know what anybody's after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of uncertainty. So that's something you really need as well.
Yeah.
He also did Seven, Zodiac, The Social Network, Benjamin Button, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He's got a good list of credentials. So I really want him to be showrunner, executive producer, whatever.
Yeah.
I want him to be in it as much as possible.
Yeah.
The main actor is Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Even though he's a bit on the old side. Yeah. He's kind of set up at the start as the main character, just an old man scientist,
Yeah.
there to do research. It is a research base. But then the show takes a turn in episode 3 or 4, when he's killed off.
Yeah.
So the main character that's been set up.
I feel like that's a good choice with the movie existing. Because if you've seen the movie and you see the show as an adaptation of the movie, everybody thinks, oh yeah, Kurt Russell's the hero. Kill him, that's a plot twist.
Yeah. See, I think that'd be excellent for like episode 3 or 4. So he doesn't even get to be the main character of the show. He's just set up that way.
Yeah.
The other cast I don't care about, expendable no names, because if you put someone in a main role, or someone in the roles who is famous, or even slightly famous, like I was considering Michael B. Jordan for this, then people automatically look to them, like they're going to be the main character.
Yep.
But after Kurt Russell, I don't want a main character.
Well, I feel like you could, because if you kill off somebody with the star power of Kurt Russell, then everybody's going to be like, damn, who's next? So you could have like, all your, your Michael B. Jordan and stuff in there. But once you kill off somebody who has the name, then nobody's going to be like, oh, this is the main character. They're just going to be waiting for the next death.
Yeah, well, I feel like if you've got Kurt Russell, you don't need any other star power.
That's true.
So yeah, maybe people who have done minor TV roles before, or who have been the main character in shows no one's seen. The writer, I just want the guy from The Thing, because that worked.
Yeah.
If he's still alive. Last week I may have chosen someone who wasn't, and learned that he was dead and gotten really sad in the podcast. And at the end of the show, at least the first season, he escapes. The Thing escapes.
The Thing escapes. And I was going to ask, is that how you're going to bring it into more seasons? But yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know if there will be more seasons, but it's a great ending. Anyway.
Well, I feel like if you have an ending like that, not to do another one is just kind of mocking your audience.
Oh, yeah. And that's the way to get the studios to say, yes, money, here you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't really have a plot, but it's got to be about the intrigue, about the mystery.
Yeah.
It's got to have no real main character. Maybe one comes out towards the end, as with all those horror things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's my show.
How much is the monster present?
Well, I feel like at the start, when it's all Kurt Russell being set up, I feel like he's got to... I feel like the Thing has to appear in the first episode, or no one will watch it. But I feel like it should be kind of at the same rate as the Thing, the movie.
But like in terms of screen time.
Yeah, well...
Because I'm just thinking, sure, David Fincher did Alien 3, but, he did Alien 3.
I haven't really thought about it too much, but I feel like after the first few episodes, if he's not almost always on screen, or at least almost always the threat at the time.
Well, I feel like that's the main idea of the film, is that the Thing is always there, but you don't know who the Thing is.
Yeah, but I'm not going to veer off into side stories with characters' relationships. It's a show about the Thing. People don't want to see relationships on the Thing. So I feel like he's going to have a lot of screen time, and that allows you to experiment so much with the effects and the different things that he can do.
Brings me to my next question. Are you going to go 1982 style effects or 2011 prequel style effects?
So I watched a video essay, because I haven't mentioned enough video essays on this podcast, about the effects. And they did most of 2011 with practical effects, but then CGI'd over the top. So as long as I don't have my practical effects CGI'd over the top, I'd love to do it all with practical effects.
Yeah.
But there are some things that, it's a long... Well, not long, but it's a series, not a... It's
going to be much more expensive.
Yeah, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be rough if you...
Well, that's why I was thinking, like, how much screen time is the actual embodiment of the monster can
Yeah.
have, because you can do a lot with just a few practical effects, like hands or heads and stuff, as opposed to having like the dog creature with its head splitting open and the skull and the tentacles and stuff from the movie.
Well, I think a guy in a suit is probably...
I mean, they did that back in the 30s with the original one.
Yeah.
I think from Outer Space.
But
Don't put a man in a suit.
But can
Please.
you imagine a suit that looks like the monster from Oates' last... the one with Dakota Fanning?
Yeah.
Can you imagine how great that would be, even practical with no CGI? It would look fantastic if you could pull it off.
Maybe.
But if I am going to do effects, then I want it to be done like as professionally as I possibly can. Whether I get Oat VFX, who's done monsters.
Yeah.
Monsters,
Snow. They're basically writing their own resume.
Yeah, if you have like even a minute of bad CGI, then you've ruined the show.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it's important to me that if they do use CGI, or even if they do use practical effects,
Yeah.
it's done really well.
Yeah, no, I can see the thing working as a TV show. More so as a mini-series for me, as opposed to having other seasons. Because I feel like sure you can take it to new locations, but the whole core of the thing is isolate. Like there's like the three pillars is like the isolation, the doubt, and the fact that anybody can die at any time. And if you take any one of those things away, you're kind of gonna destroy what makes the thing the thing.
Yeah. See, it's not going to be isolated at the start. You can't make a series. I mean, it will be in the Arctic.
I was going to
base.
say they're in the middle of the Arctic. It's pretty isolated.
You can't have a series with only a couple of people left. So maybe in the last couple of episodes, there's only one person. That would be excellent. But I
don't know about it because a lot of it is again like, who is the thing?
Yeah.
So if you only have it with one person,
Or two.
unless you have one person, and then they're doing something, you don't know what they're doing for like 2 episodes, and they build a helicopter and fly off, and then turn into the thing.
Yeah, could work. I'm not sure. I need a professional writer to write it. I'm not going to write it. That's why I don't really have any plot points, because starting to write it is like...
This is the hardest part.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I could definitely see that working. I mean, some of my other ideas were a Dread TV show. So like just the movie, but each episode is a floor of the building he's going up. I was also thinking The Martian, because that's set over so many days. Each episode is just them overcoming a problem. I feel like that could work.
Even if there's multiple people on Mars for that.
Well, I was thinking like you can have multiple people on NASA, because again, that's a big one about isolation and him having to do it all alone. So NASA's trying to set up their communications. There's loads of really good potential for different movies that could turn into TV shows.
Yeah.
That's about it for us this week. So let us know what sci-fi movies you'd want to see as TV shows. And we'll get back to you next week with some creepy crawly.